Red Skelton was once America's leading comedy icon, appearing regularly on television for 2 decades and making his mark with his clean, approachable style. When he died in 1997, many questions remained unanswered, from conflicts with television stations to rumors surrounding his private life. After 30 years of silence, his wife Red Skelton finally confirmed part of the truth that the public had suspected but no one dared to confirm. The incident immediately caused a stir in the media and fan community. To understand why, we need to look back at the journey that Red Skelton went through since his childhood. Poor origin. Red Skelton, born Richard Bernard Skelton in 1913 in Vincennes, Indiana, grew up in poverty, his father dying before he was born, leaving his mother and 4 children struggling to make ends meet. There are conflicting reports about his father's occupation, from circus clown to lawyer to telephone worker, but Red never knew his father. His mother, Ida May, worked as a housekeeper to support the family. They lived in a cold attic, often without food or clothing. Red left school at age 10 to help support the family, starting by selling newspapers on the streets. The harsh life forced him to mature early, but it also provided the first material for the sense of humor that he would later turn into a career. A turning point came when he met artist Ed Wynn, who bought up a stack of newspapers and took the stage boy to a vaudeville show. The experience left a lasting impression, sparking a love of performing that Red Skelton had developed since he was a child. At 15, he left home and began living on the stage, in circuses, on traveling boats, and in road shows. He performed at medical carnivals, burlesque, and anything else he could find to earn a living. Everywhere he went, he learned something about how to make people laugh, if not with words, then with actions. "I left home because I was hungry," Red once said. But in reality, he was hungry for something else, a place in life. With an undesirable background, he chose not to lament his fate but to bring laughter to others. Comedy did not come to Red Skelton as a career choice but as a survival reflex. In his early years, the stage was not just a place to perform but a place where he could exist with full meaning. Become a legend. From the small stage, Red Skelton gradually found his place in the professional entertainment industry. In 1934, he created a pantomime called Donut Dunkers, which he created with his first wife Edna Stilwell, and made a big splash in the vaudeville world. Just a few years later, Red appeared on national radio, starting with the Fleshman's Yeast Hour in 1937, then Avalon Time and the Raleigh cigarette program. Audiences loved his quick-witted repartee, his funny characters, and especially his ability to deliver non-verbal jokes, a rarity for a radio performer. In 1940, he signed a contract with MGM and appeared in more than 30 films. His roles as the radio detective in Whistling in the Dark, the goofball in The Fuller Brushman, and the pathetic drunk in The Clown showed his versatility in acting and emotion. Red could make audiences laugh out loud and make them speechless in the same scene. This was also the period when he became friends with Buster Keaton, one of the icons of silent comedy. Keaton not only advised Red on the script but also helped shape the performance style based on expression and action, which became Red Skelton's specialty later. The year 1951 marked the biggest turning point in his career when the Red Skelton Show debuted on NBC, then moved to CBS with a run lasting 20 years. The show quickly became one of the most beloved comedy shows in America. Red relied not on guest stars or stunts but on the characters he created himself: Freddie the Freeloader, the silent but emotional, Clem Cadillhopper, the silly country boy, Junior, the naughty kid, or Gertrude and Heathcliff, the sarcastic seagulls. These characters appeared in rotation, each with their own color and style of comedy, helping the show maintain its appeal over the years along with his performance. Red also had a familiar farewell, "Good night and may God bless." It was not just a saying but a personal message, gentle, sincere, that millions of viewers would take to heart every night. Nevertheless, by the late 1960s, the entertainment landscape was changing. Traditional comedy was gradually being replaced by more modern, more direct content. Although the Red Skelton Show continued to be a high-rated show, CBS decided to stop broadcasting it in 1971, citing the need to reinvent the show for a younger audience. Red felt deeply hurt. This was not just the end of a show but a sign that his era was coming to an end. Loss and darkness in private life, In addition to his brilliant career, Red Skelton had a turbulent personal life with 3 marriages and many incidents that left lasting marks on his life. His first marriage to Edna Stilwell lasted from 1931 to 1943. They met when Red was 17 and Edna was only 16. Although she was his wife, Edna was also his editor, co-creator, and financial manager, playing an indispensable role in his early career. After their separation, they maintained a professional relationship until 1952, a rarity in the entertainment industry at the time. Nevertheless, as Red began to gain fame, tensions between his personal life and his career built up, making the relationship irreparable. In 1945, Red married Georgia Davis, a singer and actress. They had 2 children, Valentina and Richard. Their seemingly perfect life quickly fell into crisis when Richard was diagnosed with leukemia in 1957. Red and Georgia took their son to many places, trying everything from modern medicine to alternative therapies, but the disease did not improve. Richard died in 1958, just days before his 10th birthday. His son's death became a psychological wound that Red never fully recovered from. At that time, in spite of his immense pain, Red appeared on television on the day of the funeral. He performed as usual without mentioning his personal pain. It was only backstage that he broke down. For Red, acting was the only way to keep himself together. Georgia was not so strong. She fell into depression and alcoholism. Their relationship became strained, eroded by unresolved emotions. In 1966, an unexpected event caused a stir. Georgia was shot in the chest with a .38 pistol in her room at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas, where the two were on tour. The press at the time reported that it was an accident because Georgia kept a self-defense weapon by her bed, but her refusal to elaborate raised suspicions. Some newspapers reported that Red may have been directly involved. The incident became a rumor that lasted for decades. Red never responded publicly, but according to many inside sources, he suffered a serious crisis after the incident. The two officially divorced in 1971. Georgia died in 1976 of cancer. In a rare reminiscence, Red said, "She thought the desert could heal the soul, but no one escapes the darkness by running away." 2 years after the divorce, Red remarried to Lothian Toland, the daughter of legendary cinematographer Greg Toland. This was his wife for the rest of his life. Lothian was not active in the entertainment industry and rarely appeared in public, but according to many close to her, she was an important spiritual support that helped Red maintain stability after consecutive losses. They lived on a ranch in Anza, California, raised horses, grew bonsai, and largely cut off contact with the media. Nonetheless, Lothian was also the person who later played a large role in preserving Red's legacy when he was no longer able to make decisions for himself. Shocking confirmation in 2023, at a memorial service at the Red Skelton Theater in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, Lothian Skelton made her first public appearance after years of seclusion. She took the stage not as a widow but as a keeper of memories, and in brief but clear remarks, she confirmed 2 issues that had been debated for decades. First, there was the rumor that had been going on since 1966 about a shooting involving Georgia Davis, Red's ex-wife. According to Lothian, Red never talked much about it, but what he assured her was that he had nothing to do with Georgia's injury. It was an accident, and it happened during a period when Georgia was emotionally out of control due to the impact of her son's death. Red felt responsible for not being able to help her through the emotional shock. Even though they were divorced, he continued to send her money and keep in touch with her until her death. He never forgave himself. Lothian said even though it wasn't his fault, she also touched on another topic that has sparked controversy in the media and creative community. Red's intention to destroy all of his recordings of the Red Skelton Show in a will filed before 1980. Red requested that the recordings be destroyed upon his death. This led to a lawsuit from 13 writers who had worked for him who would have lost all their royalties if the show had ceased to exist. Red later clarified that he had said this in a fit of rage against the television industry and later agreed to rerun the show under Group W. Lothian confirmed that the original intention was true, but Red changed his mind when he felt the appreciation from his former audience during live performances. After 1980, Red, she said, was not angry with his own show but rather frustrated by the feeling of being abandoned. Even with the show's steady viewership, the network decided to cancel it in favor of new tastes. For Red, it was not just a professional matter but a personal betrayal. "I'm not mad that they cancelled the show," he once told her. "I'm mad that they didn't understand that I still had something to give." Luthien also revealed that in his later years, Red stopped watching his own recordings. He felt that the old episodes should remain in their own time. For him, the real value was not in the tapes but in the memories of the people who had genuinely laughed at them. Since then, Luthien has appeared more frequently at Red's memorial events, always emphasizing one thing: "I just want people to remember him as he really was, funny, sensitive, and more sad than anyone could ever imagine." Live in seclusion and paint. After the Red Skelton show ended and his personal life settled down in Luthien Toland, Red Skelton stepped back from the spotlight and began a new chapter. He no longer appeared regularly on television or at major events, instead choosing to live a private life on a mountain ranch in Anza, California. In that isolated space, Red devoted his time to the personal pursuits he once considered private: raising horses, growing bonsai, and painting. Red had painted before but only as a hobby. It wasn't until 1964 when his ex-wife Georgia encouraged him to exhibit his paintings at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas that audiences learned about another side of Skelton, a real artist. His clown paintings quickly became popular with collectors not only because of his reputation but also because of the genuine emotion expressed through each stroke. The paintings were not as funny as on stage but often sad, with empty eyes, as if reflecting the hidden side of himself. During his years in hiding, he produced paintings and lithographs regularly. Each piece could sell for thousands of dollars, bringing him a substantial income. Nonetheless, Red did not live a lavish life. He kept a simple lifestyle, avoided the media, and devoted most of his time to creating art. According to Luthien, he also wrote short stories every day and composed more than 8,000 pieces of music during his lifetime. Some were symphonies, others were simple melodies written for himself, never published. Red lived a largely isolated life, limiting his interactions to his family. He did not use the telephone except in emergencies, refused to speak to the press, and rarely gave interviews. A 1977 article in the New York Times described him as living like a Japanese Zen monk, planting, writing music, painting, and observing life from a distance. It wasn't that he despised the public, but that he had given too much away on stage and needed time to recover. "I don't have anything to prove anymore," Red once said. "I just want to be quiet." Life on the farm in Luthien gave him that, a space to calm down, to not have to force himself to laugh. In his later years, he lived exactly as his clowning pictures had done: quiet, thoughtful, and without the need for applause to feel worthy, forgotten heritage. Although Red Skelton was once a familiar face in millions of American homes, after he retired from television, his image gradually faded from the public's mind. For many years, the Red Skelton show virtually disappeared from the airwaves. Unlike his contemporaries, which were frequently rerun, Red's show was rarely rerun. This not only made him less recognizable to young audiences but also hurt the income of those who had participated in producing the show. The problem started with Red himself. While he controlled the show, he refused to allow reruns for a variety of reasons, including his discontent with the television industry and his desire to control his artistic legacy. In an early will, he even requested that all recordings be destroyed 30 minutes after his death. This led to a major controversy, especially when 13 of his former writers sued him for losing rights to the reruns. After the lawsuit, Red withdrew that clause and agreed to let Group W release some episodes from 1983 onwards. Nonetheless, the restoration and distribution process has been slow, partly because of inadequate archives and partly because of the lack of a system to represent his legacy. It was only after Red Skelton's death in 1997 that efforts to preserve his legacy really took off, and the person behind much of it was Luthien Skelton herself. She donated a series of personal items, paintings, scripts, and letters to Vincennes University, Red's alma mater. In 2006, the Red Skelton Museum opened there, officially housing artifacts related to his career and life. In 2023, the museum will expand with a new exhibition dedicated to Red's private life, including never-before-seen diaries and rare original paintings. The launch event will feature many young artists and viewers who were involved with the show in the 1950s and 1960s. "Red is no longer here to tell stories," Lothian said succinctly, "but I am." In parallel, the Red Skelton Memorial Theatre in Pigeon Forge opened with Brian Hoffman reprising his famous characters. Many people first learned about Red through these performances, sparking a new wave of interest in his legacy as a classic comedian. Although Red feared he would be forgotten, the opposite has been true. His legacy lives on, not through the media, but through the preservation of those who truly understood who he was. Surprising revelations. Red Skelton was a gifted storyteller, but there was one story he kept private, that of his father. Throughout his career, he often claimed that his father was a circus clown who worked for the Hagenbeck-Wallace Company and died of alcoholism before he was born. The story fit the humorous and emotional image he had cultivated. But in 2025, documents released from a local Indiana archive called that theory into question. Records show that his father, Joseph Skelton, may have been a lawyer, then a telecommunications technician going by various names such as Joseph A. Hart or Joseph A. Hart. He reportedly left the law profession after successfully defending a murderer, a moral shock that led him to withdraw from society. These details have led many to ask, did Red tell the father was a clown story because he believed it to be true, or because it was something he wanted to believe in order to keep his artistic image intact? In addition to the family mystery, another controversial detail is a series of tapes between Red and the female artist Martha Ray, recorded during informal rehearsals. The conversations between the two revealed a little-known dark side. Red freely threw out dirty jokes, heavy sarcasm, completely contrary to the clean comedy style he presented to the public. These tapes were not officially released but were leaked internally. Some people thought this was evidence that Red was not real, while those close to him insisted that it was just a private matter, not to be confused with the person on stage. Lothian was asked about the tapes. She said simply, "Everyone has their own part of their mind." Red kept it separate, for people to laugh at, not to understand him. That answer reflects a Red Skelton who was more complex than his image. He could be a clown, an artist, a grieving father, a silent husband, and a man who invented stories to cope with reality. Red Skelton died on September 17, 1997, at the age of 84, from complications from pneumonia. He left behind an estimated fortune of $16 million, mostly from his acting career and paintings. But his true legacy lies not in the numbers. It lies in the memories of audiences who laughed at his seemingly simple, for now emotional characters in the farewells at the end of each night of television and in the mundane details that are now gradually being revealed thanks to the persistent efforts of Lothian Skelton and the arts community. Red's image has slowly come back. No longer confined to the stereotype of funny clown, he is seen as a multidimensional artist with depth and lasting influence. From the museum in Vincennes to the memorial stage in Pigeon Forge, from murals to reenactments of Freddie the Freeloader, Red Skelton lives on in America's cultural memory. "I lived a life before and after Red," Lothian once said. "And the years with him were the most precious." Perhaps that's why, 30 years after his death, when she spoke up to confirm what had once been a rumor, it wasn't to protect his reputation. It was to clarify who Red really was, not perfect, not saintly, but sincere and deep enough to live on through laughter, something he gave so completely. Red Skelton once said that what he wanted most was to make people laugh even when he was hurting. 30 years after his death, the stories that have come out of his mouth don't diminish that image, they make it clearer. A real artist, full of conflict, vulnerability, and love for his audience until the very end. If you have ever laughed at a Red character or just learned about him for the first time through today's story, leave a comment to share your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so that his story does not stop here but continues to live in the memories of many generations to come.